wealth you lost, the love you missed, the life you prayed for. Archangel Michael has begun restoring it right now, but only if you respond before this moment passes. My cherished soul, a trembling shift has begun around you, and Archangel Michael is standing closer than he ever has before. There is a sound in the spirit, a crack in the invisible realm, where the life you once begged God for is starting to break through the walls that resisted you for years. This is not imagination. This is not coincidence. This is a divine motion, triggered by a moment that was written for you long before you knew how much you would lose, how deeply you would ache, or how hard you would fight just to stay standing. Something ancient is opening, and Michael is urging you to pay attention, because this moment will not repeat itself. A quiet roar surrounds your name right now. The wealth you lost, the love you missed, the life you prayed for. These things are no longer drifting away from you. They are shifting back in your direction with a speed that feels impossible. Michael has seen every door that closed in your face, every person who walked away, every blessing that slipped through your fingers, and he is declaring that the season of loss has expired. He is restoring what was taken, not as a replacement, but as an upgrade, a divine compensation that carries both justice and healing. He is not only returning what was stolen, he is multiplying it. But listen carefully, restoration always begins with a sign that doesn't look like restoration. You may feel unsettled, emotional, restless, or suddenly aware of what you've endured. You may feel old memories resurfacing, things you thought you healed from rising again. This is not regression. This is spiritual unpacking. Before Michael restores what belongs to you, he removes what secretly poisoned your path. The shaking you feel is not destruction. It is alignment. The breaking is not punishment. It is preparation. Only clean foundations can hold divine restoration. Even now, Michael is standing before the timeline of your life, touching the places where you lost the most. He is speaking over your finances, your relationships, your purpose, your peace, your identity. Every place where you were drained is being recharged. Every place where you cried is being watered with favor. Every place where you begged God for a sign is being marked with a promise. And yet he is warning you gently. This window is spiritual, not permanent. If you answer, restoration will rush toward you. If you ignore it, the moment will pass like wind over water. You can feel something pulling on you as you listen. A whisper, a nudge, a pressure in your spirit, telling you that what I'm saying is not ordinary. That's because Michael is speaking through this message right now. He wants you to know that he has already pushed away a force that intended to keep you stuck for another cycle. He has cut chains that were tied to your past. He has disarmed a delay that was meant to keep you waiting years longer. This is why things have felt tense lately. Battles resolve right before blessings appear. And hear this clearly. Your restoration is not coming from the same places that hurt you. God is not reviving dead connections, failed chances, or toxic ties. No, Michael is guiding you toward newness, a life you have not lived yet, blessings you have not touched yet, peace you have not experienced yet. What you thought was the end was only a redirection. You were not denied. You were preserved. The loss wasn't loss. It was protection disguised as pain. There is something you need to know before we continue. Michael is showing me a door. It is half open, not wide, not closed, just enough for one step. That step is your response. Restoration is not automatic. It is activated. You unlock what's coming next by listening, by being spiritually present, by refusing to scroll away from what your soul knows is speaking directly to you. Because the moment you stop hearing, the moment you disconnect, The moment you retreat into old doubt, the doorway begins to close. Hold on, because what Michael reveals next will show you why everything had to happen the way it did. Trust me, you'll want to see what unfolds from here. It's the turning point your spirit has been waiting for. Type "I receive my restoration" in the comments if this is awakening something inside you. Lesson code 441 is active right now. Beloved seeker of truth, as this moment opens before you, Archangel Michael is drawing your spirit closer, because there is something you must understand before restoration reaches full force in your life. The shift that began in the previous moment is still unfolding around you, and in the unseen realm, the atmosphere is thick with movement. You may not see anything with your physical eyes yet, but spiritually, the ground beneath you is trembling with divine rearrangement. Michael is not restoring your life randomly. He is restoring it with precision, intention, and heaven-backed accuracy. He is aligning everything you once lost with the exact version of you who can carry it without breaking. This is why the pressure on your soul has intensified recently. Your spirit is expanding to hold what is returning. There are moments in life when heaven pauses everything just to examine your path. You are in such a moment now. Michael is showing your timeline to God, pointing at the years you survived pain that others never noticed. The wealth you lost was not simply money. It was time, confidence, opportunities, relationships, and peace. The love you missed was more than romantic affection. It was loyalty, safety, understanding, and genuine partnership. The life you prayed for was not just a dream. It was a blueprint heaven designed for you. These were not small losses. These were foundational pieces of who you were meant to become. The restoration coming now is equally foundational. It is not a surface-level recovery. It is a rebuilding from the core outward. Listen closely, because Michael is guiding me to reveal something that may shake you for a moment. He had been fighting battles on your behalf that you did not even know existed. There were people who spoke against your name, opportunities that were closed due to silent opposition, blessings that were delayed because someone else tried to interfere with your destiny. You were confused, thinking you were unlucky or forgotten, but Michael never left your side. He is the one who stood between you and collapse when everything seemed too heavy to bear. He is the one who pushed back spiritual interference when you felt drained for no reason. He is the one who whispered strength into your spirit when you felt like giving up. Now he is revealing that nothing you lost vanished. It was held in a divine vault until you were strong enough to reclaim it. There is a sacred truth you must hear clearly. Restoration is not meant to take you back to who you were. It is meant to elevate you into someone stronger, wiser, sharper, and spiritually awakened. Michael is not restoring the old version of your life. He is restoring the promised version, the version that was always meant for you but delayed by chaos and sabotage. This is why certain people disappeared. This is why certain paths collapsed. This is why certain prayers seemed unanswered. You were not being punished. You were being redirected to something safer and more divine. Right now, Michael is showing me an image of you walking through a corridor. On each side of the corridor are fragments of your past, memories, failures, lessons, heartbreak, moments when you almost lost hope, moments when you almost gave up, moments when you were misunderstood. Yet ahead of you is a bright doorway, and the light is not soft or gentle. It is fierce, warm, blazing with restoration. Michael is standing by that doorway, calling you forward. But you must understand something crucial. The doorway is open only while your spirit stays awake. The moment you slip into doubt, fear, or spiritual numbness, the light dims. Not because heaven is punishing you, but because alignment requires awareness. Michael wants you to recognize the signs he has been sending. Lately you may have noticed sudden moments of clarity, unexplained emotional releases, dreams that feel too real, or a sense that someone is guiding your steps. You may have felt a pull to clean your space, detach from certain people, forgive old wounds, or confront things you have avoided for years. These are signs that restoration is approaching. Michael prepares your inner world before God shifts your outer world. The treasure coming toward you cannot rest on a cluttered foundation. Every feeling that rises, every memory that surfaces, every sudden conviction or revelation is part of a divine reset. But here is the part you must not ignore. Restoration requires participation. Heaven does not force blessings onto a closed heart. The wealth, love, and life returning to you are time-sensitive because your spirit is currently at its most receptive state. Michael is urging you to stay aligned, stay open, stay listening. This message is not random. The timing is not accidental. The stirring within you is the confirmation. You are being drawn into the most important spiritual window of your recent life. A larger truth is beginning to unfold now, and what comes next will reveal why your loss was so heavy, why your pain was so deep, and why heaven waited until this exact moment to restore you. Your story is turning in real time, and the next revelation will tie everything together in a way that will make you gasp. Hold on tightly, because what is coming next will shift the way you see your past, your present, and your future. You'll thank yourself for staying with this message, because the next moments are unlike anything you've heard before. Type "I step into my divine return" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 559 is now released. Beloved heart of destiny, breathe for a moment, because what is unfolding around you right now is not ordinary, not accidental, and not random. Archangel Michael is bringing you deeper into the revelation you were prepared for long before you even knew restoration was part of your story. The spiritual atmosphere around you is shifting like a great tide, and Michael is ensuring that nothing from your past cycle sneaks into this new one. There is a seriousness in the heavens, a holy precision in the way things are being repositioned for you, and you can feel it in the way your emotions have been stirring. You are standing in a moment where heaven bends close to the earth, listening to the sound of your spirit awakening again. You may think you have already heard the most powerful part of this message, but Michael is only now beginning to reveal the truth you need for the blessings that are rushing toward you. There is something hidden beneath your losses, something you could not see at the time because your heart was too tired to process anything beyond survival. Michael is showing me a timeline of your life, and on that timeline are sections where you were stripped of things you thought were essential to your purpose. But heaven did not strip you to break you. Heaven stripped you to shield you. Every delay you experienced was not denial, it was divine intervention. Every heartbreak was not rejection, it was redirection. Every closed door was not failure, it was protection. You were being guided away from counterfeit blessings so the real ones could find you at the appointed hour. Michael is highlighting moments when you nearly connected yourself to the wrong people, stepped into the wrong opportunities, or accepted the wrong offers. These choices would have taken you down a path of deeper loss and greater pain. You call them disappointments, but heaven calls them rescues. You call them setbacks, but heaven calls them shields. You call them mischances, but heaven calls them divine detours. There were situations you wanted badly, and heaven blocked them not because you were unworthy, but because they were dangerous to your calling. You were saved without knowing you were being saved. And now, as Michael restores what was once taken, he wants you to know that the restoration comes purified, protected, and aligned, untouched by the damage that once threatened you. But there is more. Michael is revealing that some of the battles you struggled with in silence were not even yours. You carried generational timelines that were never meant to rest on your shoulders. patterns, cycles, emotional wounds, and spiritual weights that belonged to ancestors found their way into your path. You wondered why things felt heavy when you were trying so hard to do right. You wondered why blessings felt delayed even when you were obedient. You wondered why certain emotions felt ancient, as if they came from somewhere deeper than your lifetime. This is because your spirit has been fighting for more than just you. And now, Michael is severing the final strands of those generational burdens, releasing you into restoration that impacts not only your future but the lineage connected to your name. The wealth returning to you is not just financial, it is generational. The love returning to you is not just emotional, it is ancestral healing, heart restoration, and relational clarity. The life returning to you is not just a dream, it is divine inheritance, the version of your destiny that every spiritual attack tried to block. Michael is clearing the path in a way that ensures nothing old contaminates what is coming next. That is why your spirit has been urging you to detach from old habits, old temptations, old doubts, and old connections. You are being prepared for higher ground, a cleaner season, a life that breathes differently. And now Michael is showing me a crucial truth. Restoration is not something that happens to you. It is something that opens for you. A doorway of return is before you, but stepping through it requires intentional spiritual focus. This is why messages like this one appear at precise moments. Heaven knows when your heart is most ready to receive instruction. This moment is not random. This message is not random. Your presence here, reading this, is not random. Michael orchestrated this intersection so you could hear what was withheld until your spirit was strong enough to carry it. You have reached the part of your journey where heaven begins to explain why your path was so unusual, why you had to walk alone, why you had to lose things that others seemed to keep easily, why your growth came through pain instead of comfort, why your victories were delayed but never denied. You are being shaped for a restoration that is too powerful for careless hands. Michael needed you to develop the strength to protect what is returning. And now that strength is in you, and heaven is releasing what was withheld. But listen carefully. The next revelation will tie everything together in a way you have never imagined. Before the restoration fully manifests, Michael will expose a hidden truth that has shaped your past decisions and your deepest wounds. This truth will explain everything. Hold on tightly, because this story is about to reveal the moment your life truly begins again. Trust me, you will want to hear what comes next. Wait for it. This next unfolding is the most important part yet. Before we close this portion of your journey, take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe so this message reaches more souls who are waiting for their own restoration. Type I rise into restoration in the comments. Blessing code 1188 is released over you now. The same restoration unfolding in your life is the restoration this ministry is fighting to deliver to millions of other souls. When you sow into this mission, you are planting seed into God's field of healing, deliverance, and awakening. Heaven is opening doors, and like rivers flowing from the throne, your support becomes oil on the fire of this message. The word declares that those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed, and today God is declaring that promise personally over you. I am inviting you, as Michael speaks through this moment, to step into divine partnership with us. This is not a donation. It is obedience to a spiritual pull. As you give, may God multiply your harvest, strengthen your borders, and release sevenfold restoration into your household. Use Super Thanks membership, or the PayPal link in the description, and step boldly into what heaven is commanding you to activate. You're a soul in transition. Pause and lean in, because what Archangel Michael is revealing now moves deeper than anything disclosed before. You are stepping into the portion of this journey where heaven begins to explain the spiritual mechanics behind your loss and the divine engineering behind your restoration. There are moments when the human heart cannot fully grasp the weight of what it has endured until an angelic presence lifts the veil. Michael is doing exactly that for you now. He is showing me that your greatest losses were not random moments of misfortune, but carefully measured events that protected you from distortions you were never meant to absorb. The wealth that slipped through your fingers was wealth entangled with hidden traps. The love that never reached completion was love anchored to wounds that would have drained your future. The life you prayed for did not manifest earlier because the version you envisioned was tied to people, environments, and timelines that would have suffocated the real calling on your life. Michael is revealing that there were unseen forces trying to attach themselves to your path through the losses you experienced. These forces intended to use your heartbreak, your setbacks, your disappointments as entry points to slow your destiny. But heaven intervened. Heaven blocked. Heaven severed. And heaven protected. You saw doors close and thought you were forgotten. But those doors were closed because something on the other side was dangerous to your spirit. You saw people leave and thought you were abandoned. But those departures were divine routing for your safety. You saw dreams delayed and thought you were overlooked. But those delays were barriers placed between you and a path that would have derailed your spiritual purpose. Michael wants you to know the truth. Your losses were not losses. They were shields disguised as heartbreak. As he continues to reveal more, I am being shown an image of cords stretching from your past into your present. Some cords look frayed, some burned, some cut cleanly. These cords represent seasons, relationships, habits, beliefs, and attachments that no longer serve your destiny. Michael is walking along these cords, examining each one, and gently removing what your spirit is finally ready to release. You may have noticed recently that certain memories no longer hold the same emotional weight. Certain people no longer feel connected to your journey. Certain desires no longer pull on your heart. That is not numbness. That is deliverance. Your spirit is outgrowing the cages you once survived in. Restoration requires this shedding, and Michael is guiding it with precision so that your return is not tainted by fragments of your old wounds. A powerful truth is unfolding now, and it may strike you deeply. Some of the people who hurt you were never meant to repair what they broke. Heaven removed them not to leave you empty, but to create space for divine alignment. The love returning to you is not recycled pain. It is fresh, healed, expansive, and orchestrated directly by God. The life returning to you is not stitched together with remnants of past trauma. It is built from the blueprint heaven wrote before your birth. The wealth returning to you is not temporary relief. It is sustained abundance that cannot be stolen, manipulated, or delayed again. Michael has secured this restoration in a realm untouched by sabotage. No interference can reach it now. There is something you must understand about the season you are in. Heaven restores through revelation before it restores through manifestation. That is why you are hearing these words at this exact moment. Michael is preparing your inner world first, because if you receive the blessing without the understanding, you will misinterpret the restoration as luck instead of destiny. Heaven is not giving you back what you lost simply because you endured pain. Heaven is returning it because you have matured into the version of yourself who can carry it without collapsing. You are no longer desperate for what once defined you. You are no longer attached to what once damaged you. You are no longer available to what once distracted you. This is what qualifies you for restoration. Michael is showing me another vision now. You standing before a gate made of light. The gate is not locked, nor is it fully open. It is waiting. The gate responds not to emotion, fear, desperation, or haste. It responds to readiness, and your spirit is finally entering the frequency of readiness. That is why you have been more introspective lately. That is why you have been craving silence, clarity, and peace. That is why you have been losing interest in noise, drama, and chaos. You are transitioning from survival to ascension, and heaven is aligning the gate with your vibration. Before restoration floods into your life, Michael wants to reveal one more secret. Not everyone can go where you are going. There are connections that cannot survive the altitude of your next season. There are friendships that cannot hold the weight of your expansion. There are relationships that cannot breathe in the environment of your calling. Heaven is not removing these people to punish you. Heaven is removing them to protect the sanctity of your restoration. Your elevation must remain pure, unpolluted, and undisturbed. The next revelation will uncover the moment heaven decided to restore you, the precise spiritual breaking point that shifted your timeline. Trust me when I say you will want to hear this. Stay close, because the truth that is coming will make everything finally make sense. Hold on. What unfolds next will open your eyes to the divine justice that has already begun moving toward you. Type "My restoration is awakening" in the comments if this resonates. Lesson code 7744 is now flowing into your life. Precious soul standing on the threshold of awakening, settle your spirit for a moment, because what Archangel Michael is revealing now reaches deeper than the wounds you remember, and higher than the prayers you prayed in desperation. You have walked through valleys that others never saw, carried burdens that no one acknowledged, and endured battles that were invisible to the world but painfully loud in your soul. Michael has been present through every one of those moments, yet he waited until now to uncover what heaven recorded during your hardest days. There is a precise moment, a turning point in your spiritual timeline, when heaven decided the restoration of your life could no longer be delayed. You may not have known it when it happened, but heaven recognized a shift in your heart, and that shift changed everything. Michael is showing me the moment heaven marked your restoration. It was not during a time of strength or victory or bold faith. It was a moment when you were weary, broken, and unsure of your next breath. Your prayers were trembling. Your hope was thin. Your steps were heavy. Yet in that moment, when you thought you were failing, heaven saw something different. Heaven saw resilience. Heaven saw purity of intention. Heaven saw a heart that refused to turn bitter, even though bitterness would have been easier. Heaven saw someone who was still capable of love, despite being wounded by those who never knew how to love you properly. This moment became the anchor point for your restoration, because heaven restores those who protect their soul even in seasons of great suffering. Michael is revealing now that your restoration was not triggered by perfection. It was triggered by authenticity. When you cried in silence, heaven documented it. When you kept walking despite exhaustion, heaven honored it. When you forgave people who never apologized, heaven recorded it. When you released what hurt you, heaven celebrated it. And when you prayed from a place of raw honesty instead of polished faith, heaven moved. You did not realize it then, but your vulnerability was the language heaven used to activate your restoration. Your pain became the proof of your purity. Your endurance became the proof of your strength. Your humility became the proof of your readiness. There is something else Michael wants you to understand. Heaven did not respond to what you lost. Heaven responded to what you became. With every painful experience, parts of you were refined. Patience expanded. Compassion deepened. Discernment sharpened. Inner strength matured. Even your silence became wiser. Your spirit grew in ways you still do not fully recognize. And heaven does not restore based on desire alone. Heaven restores based on capacity. You develop the inner capacity to carry what once would have overwhelmed you. This capacity is what makes you eligible for a restoration that is not temporary, but permanent, not fragile but fortified, not partial but complete. Michael is revealing that the life you are stepping into is different because the version of you stepping into it is different. This restoration is not returning you to the person you were before the storm. That person was loving but unguarded, hopeful but unprotected, generous but unshielded. This new season requires strength with softness, wisdom with compassion, trust with discernment, and love with boundaries. Restoration without evolution only leads to repetition. But you have evolved, and heaven has taken notice. Right now, Michael is showing me a table being set before you. On this table are the blessings that were delayed, the opportunities that were postponed, the relationships that were withheld, and the abundance that was paused. Every item on this table is connected to something you prayed for, but in a form you could not have imagined before. Heaven did not forget your requests. Heaven perfected them. Heaven elevated them. Heaven purified them. You will not receive restoration in the form you expected. You will receive it in the form heaven designed. Michael wants you to understand that restoration also requires release. What is returning to you cannot coexist with what once strained you. That is why you have been feeling an internal prayer to let go of certain habits, certain emotional patterns, certain environments, and even certain versions of yourself. You are not losing these things. You are shedding them. There is a difference. Getting is intentional. Shedding is sacred. Getting is preparation. Just as trees release leaves to prepare for new growth, your spirit is releasing the final remnants of who you were in order to receive who you are becoming. Michael is showing me that heaven has already begun shifting people around you. Some will be drawn to you for your light. Others will retreat because your growth exposes their stagnation. You are not meant to chase anyone in this season. Those meant to align with your restoration will be guided toward you effortlessly. Divine partnerships, divine friendships, divine opportunities. All of these will begin to unfold as you rise into the frequency of your restored identity. Heaven is arranging these alignments with precision. You do not need to force anything. What carries your name will not miss you. As we move forward, Michael wants you to prepare your heart for the next revelation, because it will uncover why certain blessings were withheld at specific moments of your life. This truth will illuminate the divine strategy behind every delay you endured. The unfolding ahead will make you understand that heaven did not just restore what you lost, heaven upgraded it. Before you step into this truth, steady your heart. You are about to see why your patience was never wasted. Before you scroll away, understand this. The next portion contains a revelation that ties your past and future together in a way that will shift your spirit profoundly. You will want to hear what Michael reveals next. Type "My destiny is being returned" in the comments if your spirit feels this awakening. Blessing code 3311 is now released over you. Beloved soul rising through the ashes of every season that tried to break you, open your heart because Archangel Michael is ready to reveal a truth that will clarify why so many of your blessings were withheld until now. This next unveiling reaches into the depth of your story, touching the parts of your journey you rarely speak about, the moments you buried quietly inside your spirit. Michael stands beside you now, not as a distant guardian, but as a close witness who has watched your evolution with unwavering attention. He is showing me that heaven did not delay your blessings out of punishment or neglect. Heaven delayed them out of protection and divine sequence. There were times you prayed endlessly for breakthroughs that seemed to refuse you, but Michael wants you to understand that those delays were strategic. Heaven was synchronizing your blessings with the exact moment your spirit became strong enough to carry them. Michael is revealing that many of your earlier prayers were answered in the spiritual realm, but their physical manifestation had to wait for your heart to stabilize. If blessings had arrived during your most fragile seasons, they would have been mishandled by the people around you, drained by those who saw you only as a source of strength, or contaminated by environments not built to sustain the weight of divine gifts. You asked for abundance in seasons where you were surrounded by takers. You asked for love in seasons where counterfeit connections would have drowned your spirit. You asked for elevation during times when people would have attempted to attach themselves to your rise without contributing to your journey. Heaven could not allow that. Michael guarded your blessings in a heavenly vault, ensuring that no unworthy hands could intercept what belonged to your future. He wants you to see how your growth has been shaping the timing of your restoration. You became more discerning. You recognized patterns. You learned to say no. You identified manipulations you once ignored. You walked away from cycles you once tolerated. You outgrew the very versions of yourself that would have jeopardized your destiny. This growth became the spiritual green light that heaven was waiting for. Blessings that were once delayed have begun to unlock because your spirit now carries the maturity to protect them. Michael is bringing forward another revelation. Some blessings required healing, not only in your heart, but in the hearts of those connected to your future. Heaven cannot bring you into alignment with people who are not yet prepared for you. Partnerships, friendships, opportunities, and divine connections all require spiritual readiness on both sides. Heaven was working behind the scenes, healing, shifting, preparing, and repositioning others who play a role in your restoration. What looked like silence from heaven was actually coordination. What felt like waiting was actually orchestration. What seemed like emptiness was preparation. Here is another layer to this truth that may move you deeply. Michael is showing me scenes of your past where you felt invisible, unseen, and unheard. Times when you questioned your worth. Times when rejection pierced you so sharply that you wondered why God did not intervene sooner. But heaven was watching. Every time someone mishandled your heart, heaven wrote it down. Every time you trusted the wrong person, heaven watched the consequences. Every time your generosity was taken advantage of, heaven marked the moment. These records were not kept to punish those who wronged you, but to guarantee that when restoration arrived, it would come with divine justice attached. Heaven restores with purpose. Heaven restores with accuracy. Heaven restores with truth. Michael is showing me now that some blessings were withheld because you still believed in versions of people who had already outgrown your story. You were loyal to memories instead of realities. You held on to potential instead of patterns. Heaven could not grant your prayers while your spirit was still attached to what was hurting you. Restoration cannot sit on unstable foundations. So heaven waited while your heart learned what your spirit always knew. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone deserves proximity to your calling. Not everyone deserves to walk into the restored version of your life. This wisdom ensured your restoration would not be wasted. A powerful vision appears now, you standing in the center of a shifting landscape. Behind you, the ground is collapsing, symbolizing every outdated attachment, every expired season, every connection that no longer aligns with your calling. In front of you, new terrain rises solid, illuminated, unshakable. Michael stands at your side, guiding your steps toward the new. He is reminding you that restoration is not merely the return of what was lost. It is the transformation of what is possible. Your future is not made from recycled pain. It is formed from purified purpose. Michael wants you to hear this. The life returning to you now is different because heaven has ensured that everything surrounding it is stable. You're stepping into a season where blessings will multiply instead of evaporating. A season where love will nourish instead of drain you. A season where opportunities will elevate you instead of exhaust you. A season where your spirit will thrive instead of shrink. You have reached the turning point where the delays of the past no longer apply to your future. But what comes next will reveal the exact way heaven plans to deliver your restoration. The details, the signs, the movements, the confirmations, Michael is preparing to release them. Hold steady, because the next unveiling will shift your understanding of divine timing forever. Before you move forward, stay close. The next revelation is where everything begins to connect. Before you continue, hold this moment carefully. What comes next will change the way you see every delay you ever endured. You'll thank yourself for staying with these unfolding. Type "My time has been activated" in the comments if your spirit receives this. Blessing code 2299 is now declared over your life. Beloved soul who has walked through shadows and still carries light, steady yourself now, because Archangel Michael is opening a revelation that sits at the center of your destiny. This is the part of your journey where you finally learn how heaven intends to deliver the restoration you have been promised. You have heard pieces of the truth in earlier moments, but now the full architecture of your breakthrough is being unveiled. Michael is not revealing this casually. He is revealing it with the seriousness of a divine warrior who has waited for your spirit to become strong enough to receive sacred information without fear, doubt, or hesitation. What he is about to disclose is not meant for everyone, but it is meant for you, because the timeline of your restoration has already begun shifting in your favor. Michael is showing me a blueprint covered in radiant markings. This blueprint is not symbolic. It represents the actual structure of how your restoration will arrive. You have waited for signs, prayed for clarity, and searched for understanding, yet haven't waited until this moment to speak plainly. Restoration does not fall from the sky without a pattern. It follows a divine sequence. And now Michael is laying out the first layer of that sequence: alignment. Before anything arrives physically, heaven aligns the spiritual atmosphere around you. This is why you have been feeling a strange mixture of intensity and anticipation. You are not imagining it. Something has been rearranging itself around your life. Conversations have shifted. Emotions have risen. Old thoughts have resurfaced only to be released. These are signs that alignment has begun. The second layer Michael shows is the activation of people who will play a role in your restored life. Heaven does not restore you in isolation. Heaven restores you through connections that carry purpose. There are people you have not met yet whose names are already intertwined with your destiny. Individuals who will walk into your life with sincerity, support, partnership, opportunity, or companionship. These people were kept from you during your earlier seasons because the version of you that once existed was not ready for them. But the version of you that stands now, healed, aware, discerning, spiritually awakened, is ready. Heaven has begun stirring the hearts of those who are assigned to your next elevation. Some are experiencing dreams, nudges, intuition, or internal shifts without knowing why. They are being prepared for you, and you for them. Michael is revealing a third layer: divine positioning. You will notice in the coming season that you are drawn to specific ideas, places, conversations, and decisions. These nudges may feel subtle, but they are not random. They are spiritual guidance disguised as intuition. Heaven will lead you to places where restoration can find you quickly. This may manifest as a sudden desire to change routines, revisit goals, start new projects, or step into opportunities you once ignored. Do not underestimate these nudges. They are heavenly signals guiding you into proper placement. Restoration does not find you where you were. it finds you where you are sent. The fourth layer is purification, and Michael insists you understand this deeply. Before restoration arrives, heaven removes anything that could contaminate it. This is why certain people have become distant. This is why certain friendships have faded gently. This is why certain habits suddenly feel burdensome. You may have noticed emotional releases you cannot fully explain, or moments of unexpected clarity. These are not coincidences. They are spiritual purges. Heaven is clearing your path so that what returns to you arrives uncontaminated. You cannot carry both old wounds and new blessings in the same vessel. Something always breaks under that weight, and heaven refuses to let your restoration be the thing that breaks. Michael now shows the fifth layer, acceleration. Once the alignment, activation, positioning, and purification are complete, heaven accelerates what is meant for you. This is where delays collapse. This is where waiting ends. This is where timelines tighten and blessings that should have taken years find you in weeks or days. You will notice synchronicities, unexpected confirmations, rapid progress, sudden openings, and divine coincidences that feel almost unreal. But they will not be coincidences. They will be the fingerprints of Michael's work. Heaven accelerates only when the conditions are perfect, and beloved, the conditions around you are becoming perfect now. But there is a sixth layer, and this is the one most people miss. Revelation. Heaven reveals truths during restoration that were hidden during seasons of loss. You will begin to understand why certain people acted the way they did, why certain paths closed, why certain prayers were paused, and why certain desires were withheld. Heaven reveals these truths not to reopen old wounds, but to ensure you never repeat patterns that once sabotaged your blessings. Restoration shines a light on truth so that your future remains protected. Michael is preparing to reveal things to you through dreams, intuition, conversations, or sudden realizations that will give you wisdom for the journey ahead. This is part of your restoration. Truth is one of heaven's greatest gifts. Michael's final layer is manifestation, the moment when heaven's promises step into physical reality. This is when wealth returns in unexpected forms, opportunities, financial breakthroughs, stability, resources, support, ideas, or open doors. This is when love returns in its healed, elevated form, partnership, unity, emotional clarity, or connections aligned with your purpose. This is when the life you prayed for breathes into existence. New chapters, renewed hope, restored identity, and a destiny that finally feels like your own. When manifestation arrives, it arrives with force. It arrives with purpose. It arrives with heaven's signature. Michael wants you to understand that you are standing at the edge of this sequence. The blueprint has already been activated. Things around you have already begun shifting. What you feel inside is not restlessness. It is spiritual readiness. Heaven is closer than it has ever been. Before we move forward, hold this moment. Something greater is coming. What unfolds next will reveal how heaven plans to confirm your restoration in undeniable ways. Stay close. You will want to hear what comes after this. Type "I walk into my restored path" in the comments if your spirit receives this. Blessing code 5522 is now released over you. Beloved spirit standing at the edge of breakthrough, breathe deeply because Archangel Michael is ready to take you into one of the most important revelations of your journey. Up until now, you have learned why restoration was delayed, how heaven protected your destiny, and how the blueprint of return has begun to activate around your life. But now Michael is unveiling the signs, clear, unmistakable signs, that will begin to appear when restoration is no longer something promised, but something happening. These signs will not be subtle. They will not be easily dismissed. They will feel like spiritual fingerprints left by heaven to assure you that the movement around your life is real, live, and unstoppable. What you are about to hear will help you recognize the unfolding so you never again mistake divine acceleration for coincidence. Michael is showing me the first sign, emotional clarity. This comes unexpectedly. It may even feel strange at first. There will be moments when old emotions rise to the surface, not to overwhelm you, but to leave you. You will feel yourself detaching from things that once consumed you. Pain that once held power will soften. Memories that once cut deeply will lose their sting. People who once held influence over your heart will suddenly no longer have access to your spirit. This is not numbness. It is healing. It is the spiritual equivalent of chains falling off one link at a time. Restoration always begins internally before it shows itself externally. When the emotional weight begins to lift, it is heaven's way of telling you that you are being prepared to receive what was once withheld. The second sign Michael reveals is an increase in spiritual awareness. You will begin to notice synchronicities, moments that feel too meaningful to be random, numbers repeating, conversations that speak directly to your situation, dreams that carry clarity, sudden inner knowing that guides your decisions. These are not coincidences but communications. Heaven speaks differently during seasons of restoration because heaven requires your attention. When awareness increases, alignment begins to accelerate. Michael awakens your intuition so you can partner with heaven rather than resist what is unfolding. The third sign is unexpected separation. People who cannot go into your next season will begin to drift away. Some will fall silent. Others will distance themselves without confrontation. A few may even reveal their true intentions through sudden shifts in behavior. You must not cling to what heaven is removing. These separations are not punishments, they are protection. Michael is cutting invisible cords to ensure your restored life is not contaminated by what once drained your energy. Every separation you experience now creates space for divine connection later. The empty places will not remain empty. They will be filled with purpose. The fourth sign is divine interruption. Plans that once seemed certain may suddenly shift. Opportunities you thought you wanted may close without warning. Routines may feel disrupted. But these interruptions are not obstacles. They are redirections. Heaven interrupts what does not align with your restored identity. Michael is showing me that some of the delays or shifts you experience now are not setbacks. They are safeguards. Heaven moves you away from anything that could interfere with the blessings arriving ahead. Even when interruptions feel inconvenient, they are precise, intentional, and divinely timed. The fifth sign is acceleration. This sign is unmistakable. Things begin to move faster than you expect. Open doors, favorable outcomes, surprising breakthroughs, conversations that lead to opportunity, resources that come just when you need them. This acceleration is the evidence that heavenly warfare has already been won on your behalf. Michael has cleared the obstacles, removed the blockages, and broken the resistance that once stalled your progress. When acceleration begins, you are no longer in the season of promise. You are in the season of fulfillment. But Michael insists you understand the sixth sign, because it is often overlooked: internal boldness. You will feel courage rising in ways you cannot explain. Ideas you once hesitated to pursue will now feel urgent. Decisions you once feared will feel necessary. You will feel drawn toward growth, purpose, elevation, and expansion. This boldness is not from you. It is released through you. Heaven activates courage as a sign that the path ahead is safe. supported, and aligned. When boldness awakens, destiny begins to move. The seventh sign is the one most people never expect: stillness. Before manifestation arrives, heaven often sends a strange calm. You may feel peaceful for no reason. You may sense that something is shifting, even if nothing visible has changed yet. You may feel a quiet confidence growing within your spirit. This stillness is not emptiness, it is confirmation. It is the silence before the breakthrough appears. It is the final inhale before life exhales blessing into your path. Michael stands in this stillness, guarding your spirit so that nothing disrupts the final phase of restoration. But Michael is not finished. He is revealing that once these signs begin to appear, they will intensify. They will layer over each other. You may experience emotional clarity and spiritual awareness at the same time. You may feel both separation and acceleration in a single week. You may be pushed into courage while heaven prepares divine connections around you. These overlapping signs mean the restoration is active, not pending. You are no longer in a season of waiting. You are in a season of unfolding. Michael wants you to hold this truth close. Once restoration begins, nothing can reverse it. Not the past, not fear, not doubt, not delay, not sabotage. Heaven has already locked your restoration into place. You are simply catching up to what hath been released in the spiritual realm. And what comes next will reveal not just the signs, but the actual windows through which your restoration will enter your life. The next revelation will bring clarity to the form, the timing, and the movement of your blessings. You will want to stay close for this unfolding. Your spirit already knows this is sacred. Before moving forward, take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe so this message reaches those who need awakening just as you have. Type "I see the signs of my restoration" in the comments. Lesson code 8844 is released over you now. Just as Michael is restoring the parts of your life that were once broken, this mission exists to awaken that same restoration in countless souls across the world. When you sow into this work, you are not giving to a channel. You are helping God place light into places that have known only darkness. Your support becomes seed in a spiritual field, water on a divine fire, oil in the calling carried through every message spoken here. Heaven declares that those who help lift its voice will themselves be lifted, and that promise is alive for you right now. I am inviting you, through the prompting of your own spirit, to stand with us in this divine assignment. This is not a donation. It is participation in God's movement. As you give, may open heaven's pour restoration into your household and multiply your harvest 100-fold. Use Super Thanks membership with a PayPal link in the description and do what heaven is guiding you to do. Beloved soul standing in the glow of unfolding destiny, prepare yourself, because Archangel Michael is about to reveal how your restoration will enter your life through divine windows. You have learned the signs, you have felt the shifts, and you have sensed the atmosphere changing around you. But now Michael wants you to understand the channels, the openings, through which heaven delivers what was once lost. Restoration is not vague, distant, or symbolic. It comes through tangible pathways, and heaven uses these pathways with precision. Michael has waited until this moment to reveal them because your spirit has finally reached the level of readiness required to receive truth without fear, anxiety, or confusion. You are stepping into a place where clarity meets destiny, where understanding meets transformation, and where revelation meets manifestation. Michael is showing me the first window, opportunities disguised as invitations. These invitations may come through people, ideas, offers, or unexpected conversations. Some will appear small, almost insignificant, but they will carry the seed of your next chapter. Heaven often hides great outcomes behind humble beginnings. You may be invited to step into something new, a project, a connection, a chance to speak, a creative idea, a shift in direction. These invitations are not random. They are heavily setups. When restoration begins, heaven places opportunities directly in your path, and Michael positions you to see them clearly. Do not dismiss anything that arrives with a quiet pull on your spirit. Heaven speaks softly before it speaks loudly. The second window Michael reveals is connections. Restoration often enters through people aligned with your growth. These are individuals who carry wisdom, insight, support, or partnership meant to elevate your journey. They may appear suddenly, unexpectedly, and sometimes through unusual circumstances. Their presence will feel intentional, peaceful, and spiritually familiar, as if you have known them much longer than you actually have. They are divine alignments, not random acquaintances. Heaven has prepared certain people specifically for your next season, and they will be drawn to your energy as your restoration activates. Some of these connections will open doors you could not access alone. Others will bring healing to places you did not realize were wounded. And some will walk with you into chapters you were never meant to enter alone. The third window is release. Restoration often enters when you let go of something that has occupied too much space in your spirit. This may be emotional release, mental release, spiritual release, or the release of expectations that no longer reflect who you are becoming. As you release, you create room. And heaven fills rooms that are empty, not rooms that are overcrowded. Michael is clearing out the spiritual clutter that once weighed down your ability to receive. Old attachments, outdated beliefs, unresolved fears. These things have been loosening their grip because heaven is preparing you to receive blessings with clarity rather than confusion. Release is not loss. It is preparation. When you let go, heaven delivers. The fourth window Michael shows is divine timing. This is one of the most misunderstood windows because it often appears when you least expect it. You will find yourself in the right place at the right moment, encountering the right person, hearing the right message, or stepping into the right environment. Everything will align in a way that seems too exact to be coincidence. That is divine timing at work. Heaven orchestrates moments with surgical precision, ensuring that your restoration enters your life at the most impactful time. Nothing arrives early. Nothing arrives late. Everything arrives at the moment your spirit, your environment, and your future align. The fifth window is transformation. Restoration begins to enter your life when your identity shifts. Heaven responds to the version of you that stands in truth, not the version that was shaped by pain. As you grow into strength, boundaries, self-worth, and spiritual awareness, heaven releases blessings that match your new identity. You are no longer someone who accepts crumbs. You are no longer someone who tolerates chaos. You are no longer someone who denies your own value. You have transformed, and heaven will now match what you have become. Restoration arrives in proportion to identity. When the inner world changes, the outer world follows. Michael shows the sixth window, divine clarity. As you approach restoration, decisions become easier. Confusion lifts. Direction becomes sharp. You suddenly know what you want. You suddenly know what no longer aligns. You suddenly sense who is for you and who is not. Clarity is not something you force. It is something heaven grants. Restoration flows into clarity like water flows downhill. When clarity arrives, restoration is in motion. The seventh window is spiritual confirmation. Heaven will begin confirming your restoration through signs, words, dreams, moments, and experiences that mirror the promises spoken over your life. You may hear something from multiple sources, feel a repeated message in your spirit, or witness synchronicities that affirm the path ahead. These confirmations are Michael's way of strengthening your faith during the transition. He wants you to understand that restoration is not uncertain, it is guaranteed. Heaven confirms what heaven is about to deliver. Michael insists on revealing an eighth window, inner authority. Restoration enters when you begin to walk like someone who is chosen, not someone who is overlooked. You will find yourself speaking differently, carrying yourself differently, expecting differently, choosing differently. This authority is not arrogance, it is awakening. Heaven responds to those who walk with the awareness of their divine identity. When your spirit rises into authority, restoration meets you halfway. The ninth window is supernatural protection. When restoration begins, heaven shields you in ways you may not realize. Certain attacks will fall flat. Certain obstacles will dissolve. Certain conflicts will never reach you. Michael is actively deflecting distractions, blockages, and spiritual interference to ensure your restoration is not interrupted. The protection you feel, even in uncertain moments, is evidence that heaven is preparing the delivery of something sacred. But the 10th window is the one that opens everything, obedience to spiritual nudges. When heaven leads and you follow, restoration flows effortlessly. The nudge to release, to move, to speak, to rest, to trust. These nudges are the keys. Restoration is not earned. It is activated. When you respond to heaven's whisper, heaven responds to your readiness. And Michael wants you to know this. Every window opening now is layered with divine intention. These windows are not scattered. They are synchronized. They are preparing you for the next revelation, where the exact manifestations of your restoration will be revealed one by one. Before we continue, take a moment to anchor this message. The next unfolding will show you what restoration will look like in your life personally. You will want to hear it. Hold on. What comes next will shift the way you see your future. Type "My windows are open" in the comments if your spirit receives this. Blessing code 9911 is released now. Beloved souls standing on the rising edge of destiny, gather your spirit now, because Archangel Michael is preparing to reveal the shape, form, and expression of the restoration that is about to unfold in your life. You have learned the signs and the windows, but now you must see the manifestations, the tangible expressions of heaven's movement that will break into your reality. These are not distant possibilities. They are active, living, and already shifting toward you. Michael stands beside you with the certainty of a warrior who has secured your blessings in realms unseen, and now he is guiding your understanding so that when your restoration arrives, you will recognize it without hesitation or doubt. Michael is showing me that your restoration will appear in 3 dimensions: internal, relational, and external. These dimensions are not separate. They intertwine like threads woven into a single tapestry. The first dimension, internal restoration, is the foundation upon which everything else will rest. You will begin to feel a renewed sense of identity, strength, and clarity that you have not known in years. There will be mornings when you wake up with peace that does not match your circumstances. You will feel a lightness in your spirit that surprises you. Fears that once held power will lose their grip. Doubt will begin to dissolve. Confidence will rise like a quiet flame inside you. This is not self-created positivity. It is spiritual restoration. Heaven restores the inner world before heaven restores the outer world. When your identity shifts, your life follows. The second dimension, relational restoration, is where Michael is directing special attention. You have endured relationships that drained you, disappointed you, confused you, or misused your heart. but your restoration will enter through connections that heal, strengthen, and elevate your spirit. Certain relationships will be renewed, not because the past is repeated, but because the individuals involved have changed, matured, or reached clarity. Other relationships will be replaced entirely, with divine alignment stepping into your life at precise moments. These new connections will carry peace, gentleness, sincerity, and truth. You will recognize them by the way your soul relaxes in their presence. Heaven restores relationships through honesty, not illusion. You will gain people who see you clearly, value you genuinely, and walk with you purposefully. Whether these relationships appear as deep friendships, divine partnerships, emotional healing, or even romantic alignment, Michael wants you to know that your relational life will not remain in the state it has been. Restoration is already in motion. The third dimension, external restoration, is where the manifestation becomes visible. This includes opportunities, finances, career shifts, life direction, open doors, and breakthroughs. Michael is showing me waves of movement around your life, waves that carry resources, solutions, support, ideas, and breakthroughs you once thought were out of reach. Opportunities you once prayed for will now pursue you. Doors that were previously closed will open without effort. Certain limitations will disappear. Where you once struggled to gain traction, you will now experience acceleration. Where you once felt blocked, you will now experience divine ease. Heaven is aligning your external world to reflect your internal growth and spiritual maturity. You will begin to live not in survival, but in stability. Not in confusion, but in direction. Not in scarcity, but in abundance. Michael wants to reveal the specific areas of your life where restoration will first become visible. For many, restoration will begin through clarity, a sudden understanding of what you truly desire and what you are finally ready to release. This clarity will shift your decisions, and your decisions will shift your reality. Some will see restoration begin through opportunity, an offer, an open door, a divine encounter, or a conversation that activates your next chapter. Others will see restoration begin through healing, emotional release, forgiveness, closure, or sudden peace that settles into the heart. And for many, restoration will begin through protection, heaven blocking what is not meant for you and guiding you toward what is aligned. Michael is showing me another manifestation, provision. When heaven restores, heaven provides. You may receive support, resources, finances, or solutions in ways that feel unexpected or unlikely. Heaven does not restore you in a state of lack. Heaven restores you into sufficiency. Provision will come through channels you never considered, sources you never expected, and moments that arrive precisely when you need them. This is not luck. This is orchestration. Another manifestation will appear through alignment. People who carry purpose for your life will show up at exactly the right moment. Conversations will shift your perspective. Encounters will carry divine timing. You will notice that you no longer chase what is meant for you. It finds you. Heaven aligns what you are ready to receive. Michael is also revealing the manifestation of justice. There are places where you were wronged, misunderstood, overlooked, or undervalued. Heaven has not forgotten those moments. Restoration brings justice, not revenge, but correction. You will be honored in places where you were ignored. You will be valued in ways you were once dismissed. You will be elevated in areas where you were once diminished. Heaven balances what life distorted. Finally, Michael shows the manifestation of expansion. Your life will grow, not only financially or relationally, but spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. You will see yourself rising into identity, purpose, calling, creativity, and vision. You will feel guided, supported, and strengthened. The version of you emerging now is not a continuation of who you were. It is the beginning of who you were always meant to become. Restoration is not simply return. It is rebirth. But there is more coming. Michael is preparing to reveal the sacred truth behind why heaven chose this moment, this exact window of your life, for restoration. That revelation will illuminate everything with clarity so profound it will feel like your spirit is seeing for the first time. Hold on, because what comes next will shift your entire understanding of divine timing. Wait for it. Your story is about to open in ways you never imagined. Type "I welcome my manifestation" in the comments if your spirit agrees. Blessing code 7733 is now released over your life. Beloved soul standing in the warmth of dawn after a long night, open your spirit gently, because Archangel Michael is ready to disclose the deepest and most sacred truth of your journey. Why heaven chose this moment, not earlier, not later, for your restoration. Everything you have walked through, every delay, every heartbreak, every unanswered question, has been leading to this spiritual threshold. Michael stands beside you now with the authority of one who has witnessed every moment of your struggle and every moment of your strength. And he is ready to reveal what heaven has waited years to show you. This revelation does not simply explain your past. It prepares your future. It lifts the veil from your story and exposes the divine timing that has shaped every hidden detail of your life. Michael is showing me that heaven chose this moment for your restoration because your spirit has reached maturity. Not the maturity of age or experience, but the maturity of awareness. You see things differently now. You recognize patterns you once ignored. You trust your intuition more than the noise around you. You no longer cling blindly to what hurts. You no longer fight to stay where your spirit does not belong. You have developed a spiritual backbone, a sacred understanding, a strength that comes from truth rather than fear. Heaven could not release your restoration into the earlier versions of you because those versions were still healing, learning, shedding, and awakening. You would have accepted less than what you deserved. You would have entertained people who were not meant to walk with you. You would have stayed in rooms that were too small for your calling. But now, you can see with clarity. And heaven restores only when you can protect what returns. Michael reveals something deeper. Heaven also waited because the environments around you needed to shift. There were people who were not ready for your elevation. People who would have sabotaged or drained your blessings if they arrived too soon. Heaven needed to clear the ground, separate the genuine from the false, expose intentions that were once hidden, and illuminate truth where confusion lived. This divine pruning was not punishment, it was preparation. Your restoration required environments that could support your destiny, not choke it. And so heaven waited until the wrong influences fell away, waited until the wrong voices grew quiet, waited until the wrong attachments dissolved naturally. Only now is the atmosphere around your life stable enough to sustain the blessing that is coming. Michael is showing me that heaven chose this moment because you finally understand your worth. Not externally, but internally. You no longer beg for love. You no longer chase validation. You no longer silence yourself to fit into spaces that do not honor you. This inner shift is one of the most powerful indicators that restoration is safe to release. You know who you are now in a way you did not before. You know what you deserve. You know what aligns with your spirit. And you know what drains your soul. When someone reaches this level of awareness, heaven responds quickly. Restoration follows worth. Abundance follows identity. Blessings follow clarity. There is another reason heaven waited until now. You have completed cycles that once held you captive. Old traumas that shape your decisions have loosened their grip. Patterns inherited through generations have broken. Emotional triggers have softened. You are no longer driven by old fears, old wounds, or old narratives. And because those cycles have closed, heaven can now open doors that once would have been harmful to you. You are spiritually cleaner. You are emotionally stronger. You are mentally grounded. Heaven does not release new life into old wounds. So the moment your spirit healed in crucial places, the timeline of your restoration activated. Michael now reveals one of the most profound truths. Heaven chose this moment because resistance against you has finally collapsed. For years, spiritual forces, draining connections, emotional weights, and unseen opposition created barriers that slowed your progress. You may have felt it as stagnation, confusion, heaviness, or loss of direction. But what you felt was warfare. What you perceived as delay was interference. And what you experienced as stuckness was spiritual resistance. Michael fought those battles quietly, without needing your recognition or understanding. And now, those barriers are gone. Wars that raged unnoticed have ended in victory. Your path is no longer blocked. Heaven could only release restoration once the atmosphere was cleared of interference. Another truth unfolds. This moment was chosen because you finally surrendered control. You stopped trying to force timing. You stopped trying to carry everything alone. You stopped running ahead of heaven. In your surrender, you created space for divine movement. Heaven does not operate in rushed energy. Heaven moves when your spirit releases its grip and makes room for alignment. The moment you stopped fighting the process shifted in your favor. Michael also wants you to understand that heaven chose this moment because the blessing you are about to receive required preparation in the lives of others. The right people, the right opportunities, the right pathways needed time to rise into their own readiness. Restoration is never one-sided. Heaven synchronizes the stories of many to bring a single blessing into place. Some of the delays you experienced were not about you. They were about others reaching their alignment. Now those alignments are ready. Lastly, heaven chose this moment because your destiny timeline has reached fullness. There is a divine clock, unseen yet precise, that governs every breakthrough. And your clock has struck the hour. This is the moment heaven planned long before your pain, long before your questions, long before your losses. This moment is not late, it is perfect. And what comes next will show you the signs of fulfillment in motion. Not the early signs, but the unfolding itself. Stay close now. What you will hear next will help you recognize the exact moment restoration crosses from the spiritual into the physical. Type "I trust the timing of heaven" in the comments if your spirit receives this. Blessing code 6644 is released over your life. Beloved soul chosen for restoration that carries heaven's own signature. Steady your heart now, because Archangel Michael is preparing to reveal the final movement of this unfolding. How you will know that restoration has crossed the threshold from spiritual promise into physical reality. You have walked through revelation after revelation, understanding the signs, the windows, the timing, the manifestations, and the purpose behind every shift. But now, heaven wants you to recognize the moment when the restoration becomes undeniable, unshakable, and visible in your life. Michael stands beside you with the certainty of one who has already seen your future and knows the glory rising toward you. He is ready to show you what fulfillment looks like in real time, so you never again question whether heaven is moving on your behalf. Michael is showing me that the first clear sign of fulfillment is sudden alignment. Doors that once resisted you will open with ease. Conversations will flow smoothly, and pathways that felt blocked for years will become accessible. What once required force will now unfold naturally. You will feel a shift in your spirit, as if the world around you, is finally matching your inner growth. Opportunities you never imagined will begin to contact you, and you will be positioned for breakthroughs that seemed impossible before. Heaven does not trickle blessings. Heaven releases them in waves once the timeline is activated. You will not need to chase anything. What carries your name will come toward you without hesitation. The second sign of fulfillment is overflow. Restoration rarely arrives in one area alone. It touches multiple parts of your life at once: finances, relationships, direction, confidence, clarity, and opportunities. You may see improvement in your emotional world and then, unexpectedly, a breakthrough in your career. You may feel peace settling into your nights at the same time new doors open during the day. This is not coincidence. This is compounded restoration. Heaven returns what was lost with interest. Michael ensures that the blessings coming to you are layered, expanded, and multiplied beyond what was taken. The third sign is unexpected favor. You will receive help from places you did not expect. People will show kindness, opportunities will be extended, approvals will be granted, and solutions will appear without force. Even environments that were once hostile will become peaceful. Fulfillment brings favor because heaven shifts every atmosphere connected to your destiny. Michael clears resistance and positions you to receive from places that once ignored your presence. This favor is not temporary. It is a mark of the restoration being sealed. The fourth sign is recognition. Those who overlooked you will begin to see your value. Those who dismissed you will realize your strength. Those who doubted you will witness your rise. Heaven reveals your light in this season not to inflate your ego, but to place you exactly where you are meant to be. Recognition is not about applause. It is about alignment. It positions you for opportunities that require visibility. Michael brings your name into rooms you have never stepped into conversations you did not initiate, and into hearts that are divinely assigned to help you ascend. The fifth sign is stability. Restoration brings grounding. You will feel anchored, centered, and supported in ways you have not felt for a long time. Internal chaos will quiet. Emotional storms will settle. Confusion will dissolve. Your steps will become deliberate because your path will become clear. Stability is the fruit of heaven's order, and Michael is placing that order around your life. Where you once felt scattered, you will now feel rooted. Where you once felt uncertain, you will now feel guided. This stability is not momentary. It is structural. The sixth sign is confidence. Not arrogance, not pride, but holy confidence. You will feel yourself walking differently, speaking differently, choosing differently. You will no longer move from fear. You will move from purpose. You will no longer shrink yourself. You will rise into your fullness. This confidence is evidence that heaven has restored your identity. The world around you may not understand the shift, but your spirit will recognize that something ancient and powerful has awakened within you. The seventh sign is joy. Not fleeting excitement, but deep, steady joy, the kind that grows quietly inside the soul. You will feel grateful for things you once questioned. You will feel hopeful about things you once doubted. You will feel alive in ways you forgot were possible. Joy is a marker of completion, a sign that heaven has finished a work within you and is now expressing it outwardly. Michael stands in this joy with you, celebrating what has been rebuilt. The eighth sign is movement. Your life will no longer feel stagnant. Doors will open. People will appear. Opportunities will flow. Ideas will ignite. Progress will accelerate. Movement is the final confirmation that the restoration is active and irreversible. Heaven is not giving you back fragments of what you lost. Heaven is giving you momentum to step into your destiny with authority. And the ninth sign the most profound one. Your spirit will feel at home. You will realize that everything you have walked through, every tear, every loss, every battle, every unanswered question, was leading you here. Your past will no longer feel like a weight. It will feel like wisdom. Your present will feel purposeful. Your future will feel reachable. You will feel aligned with heaven in a way you have never felt before. This is fulfillment. This is restoration. This is your turning point. Now, before this moment closes, take a breath and let this truth settle. Your restoration is not approaching. It has already begun. What comes after this will not be struggle. It will be elevation. Not confusion, but clarity. Not survival, but rebirth. Michael stands with you, declaring that the year of loss has ended, and the year of divine return has begun. Beloved soul, before we seal this moment, like, share, comment, and subscribe so this message can reach others who carry wounds heaven is ready to heal. Type "I receive my fulfillment" in the comments. Blessing code 2024 is now released over your life. Just as Michael restores every fragment of your life that was lost, this ministry is committed to restoring hope, faith, and spiritual awakening in souls across the world. When you sow into this mission, you become part of heaven's work, part of the river of light that reaches those trapped in darkness. The word declares that when you sow into fertile ground, heaven multiplies what you give, and today God speaks that promise directly over your life. I am inviting you now, not from need, but from divine prompting, to stand with us in this sacred assignment. Your support through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description becomes a prophetic act that unlocks restoration in your own household. Heaven responds to obedience with open heavens, flowing favor, and multiplied increase. Step into this moment with boldness, for heaven is commanding you to activate what has already been released.